Welcome, everyone. I am Mary Ann, and this is my colleague, Lauren Butler. We are learning designers at SILT, and we're going to be taking you through this webinar on communication today. I think just as a reminder, everyone in this room is either will be joining the pilot group of courses that are going to be live in the second semester, or they are early access users. And also just to say that as you are getting to grips with Brightspace, so are we. So we are exploring this system together at the moment in the pilot phase. Okay, so on the agenda today, we're going to go through a communications plan. Lauren is going to be taking us through thinking about your communications plan for your course. How alerts work on Brightspace, because it's quite a little bit different to how alerts work in Butler. The announcements tool, particularly what's different or what's new in the announcements tool for Brightspace. Messaging students via the email tool, which is available through other tools in Brightspace, the calendar, and then we're going to jump to intelligent agents and release conditions. Just to note that all these tools are it's up to the discretion of the lecturer. So you can use these tools if you want to. You don't have to use all of these tools on your course site. Use them when you find a use for them. Don't feel pressure to use them if you don't have a use case for them. Lauren, I'm going to hand over to you, but is there anything that you want to add?
No, this is a good overview. Thank you. We can continue.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, so we thought it would be a good idea to start with just looking at how students can benefit from course communication. And communication can include anything: announcements, it can include emails, any type of communication that would come from your side and sent out to the students. So there are three main key points that it's worth considering as you think about your communications within the course throughout the year. So first of all, students benefit from communication that's consistent. For example, when students know they can expect a weekly overview announcement on a Monday morning, it can help them plan their week. And this consistency can also help to reduce anxiety caused by uncertainty. So it might help to plot out a communication plan that is aligned with your course outline. And we'll look at an example on the next slide of what this could look like. And then course communication should also be informative and timely. So include all of the available information that you have. Students really appreciate transparency, even when this includes uncertain elements. For example, I don't know what's happening with this policy, or there are things being decided. So any type of available information that you have, it's worth including that in the course comms. And then also, don't forget to add something interesting and creative. So you can show your students a little bit of who you are by adding a link to an interesting story or a funny meme, for example. And this can go a really long way to build a relationship with your students and let them get to know you a little bit. And one of the nice things about Brightspace tools is that you can include a little video in your announcement, for example. There are other ways that you can send a video to students as well, but the announcements tool include a setting that allows you to record a video and send that out to students. So this might be a nice change from just receiving weekly text messages in announcements. Okay, on the next slide is an example of what a communication plan could look like. So the columns that are with the orange headings, this would be the course outline. An example of a course outline, it includes the week number, the date, the beginning, the starting date of that week, the topic of that week, and then any relevant assignments or activities or due dates that are that are coming up in that week. Just go back, Marianne. Did you lose your?
Sorry, I lost my controls, Lauren.
That's okay. I can share if it's
okay,
not
it doesn't want
to
you. Come with my screen, so I'm going to stop sharing. Sorry about that.
Yes. Okay, let me go. Okay, so as I said, this is an example of a communication plan. The first 4 columns would be the course outline, including assignments, activities, and due dates that the students need to know for each particular week. And in the green columns, you can plot out a communication plan. And this can help you to see how many announcements or reminders or emails you might be sending out each week. And we all know students receive hundreds of emails every day from a variety of sources. And it might be helpful to know that you are only sending them the necessary number of messages in a particular week. So I'm just going to talk through the first line, where it's the first week of this particular course, and you can send a welcome to the course announcement on a week before the course goes live. And then the week that the course goes live, you can send an overview of week 1, and this could be repeated every week. So at the beginning of every week, on the Monday, you can send an overview of the week, and the overview would include key dates, reminders, little something creative, something interesting for students, to get them excited for the week, maybe. And then this. The release conditions is something we'll go into more detail later on, but this is something that you can use in conjunction with an announcement. You can set up release conditions so that it picks up which students have not yet posted in discussions, for example. And through release conditions, you can send out an announcement to only those students. And this can happen. This can happen with quizzes and assignments as well. You can set up release conditions so that only the students who have not yet submitted their quiz or assignment, only those students receive an announcement as a reminder of what they need to submit for that week. Okay, this is an idea. It's just what we are suggesting to try and make your announcements and messages to students a bit more structured. Okay, so I'm going to start talking about the tools that are specific to Brightspace. And as we said, you don't have to use any of them, or you can use all of them. This is an overview of what these tools can do. Many of them are very similar to the Vula tools, and so we'll specifically look at some things that are new or exciting in Brightspace. The first thing that I want to point out are these 2 alerts at the top, in the top right-hand side of the screen. So the little speech bubble alert will provide any alerts that you have subscribed to. And you will see there's a little subscription button that you can select, and these are available in discussions and some other tools as well, not just discussions. So you can subscribe to receive updates on specific things. Then the little bell icon, that's the update alerts, and this will notify you about new and update activities regarding announcements or upcoming due dates, and then grades, quizzes that are due, or assignments that are due, and you can click on that update from the update alerts drop down, and it will take you directly into the quiz or the assessment or the announcement that you are being updated about. And this will apply to all the courses that you are enrolled in. So for a student, if they're enrolled in 3 to 6 courses, all of those updates will appear under the update alerts icon. Okay, then announcements. So as with Villa, the announcements tool in Brightspace allows us to display the announcement on the homepage. So as soon as the student opens up your course site, the latest announcement will appear on the homepage. You can also create, copy, delete, or edit an announcement, and then you can also save an announcement as a draft or publish it immediately, or to schedule it to go out at a certain date and time. And then the new features of announcements include that you can record audio or video attachments straight from the announcements tool. So when you open the box that allows you to create a new announcement, you will see the option there to record audio or record video that can go straight into your announcement. You can reorder announcements, restore a deleted announcement, and search for an announcement. So there's a nice search box that you can use. Dismiss an announcement, and then also action a major edit to an announcement, which will go out to all of the students, including those who have dismissed an announcement. It will resend it to them as well. And then you can set release conditions for announcements. And Mary Ann will talk more to this later on. Then the next tool is the direct message. So there's an email tool, and this little email tool, it's this button with an envelope and the word email. And this tool can be found on a variety of, this button can be found on a variety of tools in Brightspace. In this particular example, I opened the class list, and from here you can email certain students, a group of students, or the whole class. So this email sends, all of the students are added as BCC, so they can't see each other, and it's only an outgoing message. So there's no, they can't reply to your email, and it goes to the student's email account. So for example, to Outlook, the student Outlook account. Okay, the next tool is the calendar tool. And this provides a lot more functionality than the calendar tool in Villa did. Students can view all of their courses and the associated events on their calendar, or they can only view specific courses or one course at a time, but they are able to toggle how many and which courses they view on their calendar.
Sorry,
and
Lauren.
from yours, yes?
Lauren, there's just a question on announcements in the chat. Will announcements not have an automatic email option as well? Example, fuller options of high, low, no email.
I don't understand. So announcements. Oh, I see. Okay. Yes. Yes, you can set the priority of the announcement. Sorry, I didn't understand that quite well. But you can. There's a list, a priority list that you can select, and it is high, medium, or low, or something like that. We can go into Brightspace in a few minutes to take a look at that. Okay, thank you for that question. Okay, back to the calendar. So from your side as a lecturer, there are 2 ways for you to add events to the calendar. You can add dates to certain elements in the course. although not everything you add dates to are automatically added to the calendars. Discussions and quizzes have a little option that you need to tick in order for that to go into the calendar. But for assignments, that will go into the calendar by default. And also, if you add dates to your content in the content tool, so a new unit or lesson, if you add dates to those items in the content, it will also be added to the calendar. And then you can also create events from within the calendar and then associate those with specific items in the course. And then students can also use this task pane, which is in the bottom right corner of the calendar window, and they can make a list of things that they want to remind themselves of, and then they can also add a due date to it, and then tick it off as they tend to these tasks. And another very nice feature is that students can merge their Brightspace and Outlook calendars. And how to do this will be included in the student orientation module, which will be added to all new courses going out in the second semester. So it will include a step-by-step on how to merge the Brightspace calendar and the Outlook calendars. Right. Let's move on. Okay, so I'm going to pause here and quickly show you on Brightspace what these tools look like, and then I'll hand over to Mary Ann, who will talk about intelligent agents and release conditions. Let me open my Brightspace and share again. So the first tool that I want to point out is the updates, the subscription alerts and the update alerts. So you can see at the moment I'm in a specific course, so this is my sandbox site. But if I click on update alerts, it will show me updates of anything, of all of the courses that I am enrolled in. And when I click on something here, it will take me directly to that thing. So let's see. I want to read this announcement on Thomas's sandbox site. So when I click on that, it will take me to the announcements. Okay. Now I want to go back to my sandbox site. Okay. The next tool that I want to talk about is the announcements. Is that it? Yes. Okay, so announcements can be found under course info. So there's the announcements that students will be able to follow these steps as well, but announcements are automatically added to the home page. So the latest announcement will be posted on the home page, and then the students can read all of them as they are listed on the home page. But in the announcements tool, you can, so to add a new announcement, you just click on new announcement, and then you can continue to, let's say, overview of week 3. This rich text editor allows you to add, it allows you to format the message, you can insert images and links. So it gives you nice variety to add different elements to your announcement. You can also personalize it by using one curly bracket and then first name and another curly bracket, which will pick up the student's first name and add it to the announcement. Okay, so in terms of setting up when you want to send the announcement, you are able to set the start date for it, which can be in the future. You can schedule it to go out at a certain date. And here under attachments, this is where you can record the audio or record the video, and it will go directly into the announcement. Okay, so let's even when you schedule an announcement, let's say I'm going to let this one go out at 1 p.m. and even when I click publish, it will remain scheduled. So the status says scheduled here. Okay. The next tool I want to show is the calendar tool. Hold on. Okay, also under course info, you can find the calendar tool. Come on. Okay, here we go. So okay, sorry about that. You can see here that this is the month view of the calendar, and it shows the different course events in different colors. So at the moment, there are 5 calendars that I've added to my calendar tool, and these are indicated in different colors, or the events are indicated in different colors. At the top here, you can toggle the view of how you want the calendar to display. So the agenda view, let's see when. Okay, so it just lists all of the items in an agenda view, one after the other, with the necessary links to go directly to that item, including the dates, the start date and the end date of the event. The daily view, just an hourly view of the day. Week view, very straightforward. So Sunday to Saturday view of the week. Month view is quite popular. So you can see the whole month's events in one view. And then the list view shows you can filter by different items from the list view. So if you only want to see your assignments, you can filter to only see assignments in the list view. Okay, and then the task pane here, bottom right corner, where students can add a task and check them off as they need to. They can also view completed tasks if they want to. Okay, I think that's it for calendar, unless there are any questions that I can address now. The best thing to do with any of these tools is to go to your Sandbox site and play around with them. Change the settings, see what happens, see what works and what doesn't work, so that you can become familiar with these tools and advise students on the best way to use it when they get to use Brightspace later this year. You can't break anything in the Sandbox side. You can, well, you can break things and it will be okay. It won't have any effect on any students or anyone. So go ahead and break lots of things so that you can see what happens when it breaks.
And also just to add, Nuru, that you can, if you're playing in your Sandbox site and you happen to build something like a content module or something that you would like to use in another site, it's very easy to export and import from one site to another. So your Sandbox is, you're not going to have to redo things. In other words, if you're doing something that you find, actually, this is going to be useful for students, you can use it in another site.
It really is very easy, and you can also specify to copy only certain components of the course into your teaching site. So yeah, good to note. Thank you, Marianne. I'm going to hand over to you, Marianne. Would you like me to share, or are you okay?
I can share, sure.
Okay, we'll stop.
Okay. Just okay. So I'm going to be taking you through intelligent agents and release conditions. Intelligent agents is a tool that's offered in Brightspace that is, I guess, a little bit new and exciting. So it's worth exploring at least. So what Intelligent Agent does is it's a tool that allows you to both monitor activity on a course site and optionally to reach out to students. So from a communications perspective, excuse me, it allows you to send targeted communication to students. So only students who a particular message is relevant to will receive that communication. But you don't have to use it as a communications tool. You can also use it as a tool to monitor activity. So for example, if you wanted to know something like how many students are and which students are doing the practice quizzes, which students have completed week 1 by the time week 2 starts, and you don't actually want to send out an email, you can do that as well. You can just do it for monitoring and reporting purposes. But of course, if you do want to use it as a communications tool, you can send emails to students when it is relevant to them. So for example, a reminder that an assignment was due yesterday to students who haven't yet submitted the assignment, or a reminder to complete the honor pledge, for example, to students who haven't yet completed it. Having said that, Intelligent Agent isn't just for students who are not on track. It's for students, you can use it to motivate students or as a tool to motivate students as well. So if, for example, students have gotten more than 90% for a test and you want to acknowledge that, you can send them a message of congratulations too. Another thing about Intelligent Agent is that it can be run automatically or manually. So you can set up an agent to run, for example, every day, every week, every hour, or you can set up or you can just use it for when you want to know a particular piece of information. I would really caution against setting up automated agents. So, because you don't want students to receive too many emails. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. But you want to use it sparingly when you do use it in an automated way. And just something that I wanted to mention on setting up agents is that it's not, it's content item specific. So for example, if you are setting up an agent and you want to know which students have completed module 1 in the course, the next time you run it, it's still going to run and ask the question, have students completed module 1? So if you run it now, it's going to tell you these students have completed module 1 or haven't completed module 1. Then when you run it next week, it's going to tell you again, these students haven't completed module 1. So it's content item specific. It doesn't sort of like, it's not that intelligent in the sense that it moves on. These students haven't, next week it will tell you which students haven't completed module 2, module 3, module 4, etc. So it's content item specific. That's something to remember. Then the activity that you can monitor in Intelligent Agent is related to login activity and release conditions. The login activity are the logins to Brightspace, so the logins to the system and the logins to your course specifically. Those are the two login activity types that you can track. and then release conditions. It's based on release conditions, which we'll chat a little bit now, a little bit more in detail about. So release conditions are analogous to prerequisites in Vula. It's based on the principle, if this, then that. So if the condition is met, then release an activity or content item. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the types of conditions that you can create, and then the tools that they are compatible with. So the categories of conditions that you can create are assignments, and you can create them on submissions where the feedback was received, and grades, checklist completion, class list role and enrollment. And so the role is just to separate out roles, because you want to isolate. Most of the time you're going to want to isolate communications to the student role. You don't, for example, want your colleagues who are teaching on the course with you, or the tutors or the administrators, to receive a reminder about not having submitted assignment 1, for example. And then enrollment to specific groups. So if they are in group 1 or group tutorial group B, etc. The other categories are content completion and visits, discussion posts and scores, grades, quiz attempts and quiz scores, and then survey completion. Sorry, I see there was a new question in the chat.
It's just me correcting something that I said.
No
So.
Okay, so those questions are, those categories are all the categories that you can base release conditions on. So if, for example, I think something worth noting is that if you want to use release conditions, then you want to use those tools that release conditions, that you can create release conditions categories for. So for example, the survey tool and the self-assessment tool are very similar in Brightspace. But the survey tool is compatible with release conditions. The self-assessment tool is not. So if you do want to use release conditions, it's worth just checking which tools, when you set up your course, it's worth just checking which tools are compatible with release conditions. So that is the condition categories for release conditions. On the other side, these are the tools that are compatible with release conditions. So it's all the tools that we mentioned in the category side, so assignments, checklist, content modules and topics, discussions, grades, quizzes, and surveys. And in addition to that, the tools compatible with release conditions are Intelligent Agent, of course, and then announcements, as Lauren was mentioning before. So before we go into a demo about of Intelligent Agent, so just going to look at it in the site, just some good practice related to using Intelligent Agent. So looking at the agent name, it's important to use a standard naming convention and one that provides a little bit more information. So for example, login activity for 7 days. You want to, and then stating whether there's no email associated with it or you are going to email is worthwhile, I think, in the title, so that you know whether it's for monitoring or for communications purposes. In the description, you want to provide more information about what the agent is for. And if you are sending out an email, it's also worth including notes about what needs to change in the agent if you want to rerun it. So for example, if you are sending out a reminder and you're saying to students and you're signing it off as your name, you want to indicate in that description column or box to your colleagues that if they want to run this agent, they should change the name to their name, or the contact details to their contact details. And as I mentioned before, you can schedule intelligent agents, but I mean, there is a word of caution there. You want to avoid overuse because, as you can imagine, students are receiving announcements from all of their courses. If you're sending out intelligent agents and everyone is to every week or every hour there, I would really avoid using the more frequent scheduling options. So you really do want to determine whether there is a strong case for repetition for an agent to run regularly. Then, as Lauren showed with the announcements, I think it was, it's useful to use replace strings to personalize the emails. So hello, initiating user first name. Intelligent Agent has got different replace strings to announcements. And I'm going to show you that in a second, but it's worth just noticing. I think it was Lauren's, the announcements, and it says hello first name. This is hello initiating user first name. So it's different for Intelligent Agent than it is for announcements, but it is very nicely laid out for you in the tool. Okay, are there any questions before I go to the tool itself? Don't see anybody's hand up or any questions in the chat. So I'm going to go, just going to stop sharing for a second. Space. Excuse me. Okay, so Intelligent Agent can be found in the Manage Course dropdown. So you click on Intelligent Agent, and when you open Intelligent Agent, you'll see all of the agents that you've previously run, all the agents on the course. You can manage just like you can manage announcements, so bulk, delete, and disable, etc. You can do that here on the screen, but more likely you're going to go to New Agent. So this is where you would add some information about the agent. So let's say a reminder, assignment 1, and this is email. You want to send that as an email to students. You'll put a little bit more information and a description of what needs to change if you run this email again. There are optional categories, so you can create categories. For example, you can say assignments. You want to put this in a category called assignments or reminder emails, depending on how you want to categorize your agents. This is to enable the agent. Scheduling, so you can say no schedule or you can run once. Which I would suggest. I like the one-time run agent. I think you don't want to forget about agents that run, so have a strong case for when you repeat it. You'll see once you schedule an agent, it will show you the frequency, and then when you choose the frequency, it will show you the scheduled date. So it always defaults to the current time. And so today's date and the current time. In the criteria, you can choose the role. So all users visible in class lists, or more likely you're going to click this users with specific roles and select students. You don't want lecturers to receive reminders about assignments that have not been submitted. And then this is sort of the main part. What do you want your agent to be based on? So you can select login activity, when last has the student logged in, and this is to the system, this is to your course, and then you can create release conditions. This is where you create release conditions. So in our case, we might say we want assignments, and we want to say submission to folder. And then more information comes up, and we want to say, it will show us all the assignments and the categories of assignments here. And we want to select the assignment that we want to remind students about. So I'm going to say assignment 1, and then create. So there, that is the release condition that's created there. So sub all conditions. Sorry, I think I clicked. Let me just. I forgot to show this. So this is tools that have, conditions that have already been created. So submits to folder assignment 1. That's the one that we created now. And there are other conditions. You can choose conditions that you've previously created, or you can create the conditions in here. Then the actions is to say whether you only want to take action on the first time that an agent's criteria is satisfied, or whether you want to take action every time the criteria is satisfied. And I think by default, always take the action only once, unless you have a strong case for repetition. So if, for example, you choose to run an agent every day, and a student, and it's for logins, and they haven't logged in the last 7 days, and tomorrow that is true too, they haven't logged in the last 7 days, and then the next day that's true as well, they haven't logged in for the last 7 days, then they will receive an email every time, and you probably don't want that. You want to be quite purposeful. You want your message to be quite purposeful, and not just allow the student to see it as spam. So all this that we've now showed is for the creation of the agent. This is where you select whether you want an agent to be associated with an email or not. So you can use it as a monitoring tool. You can say, I just want the agent to run, I want the agent to run without sending an email. But if you want to send an email, you select that option. So in the to field, it's very important, excuse me. What's very important is that you don't type in any email addresses here. If you type in your email address, you will get an email for every time that the agent is true. So for every person that is not, or that does a particular action or doesn't do a particular action, you will get that email. So what you want to use is these special email addresses, and you want to say initiating user. So the initiating user is the user who performs the action necessary to satisfy the agent's criteria. So you want to copy that, click this little link there, copy the initiating user, or you can just type in initiating user. But to make sure that you don't make any mistakes, you can copy it in the to field. Type in your subject line and your message. And you can type any message here as Lauren. It's also, you can insert stuff. So if, for example, you were creating an agent for someone who didn't do very well in a practice quiz, you might want to link to particular content. Content in the course, like a resource, or you want to link them back to a content item that will be useful for them. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that the replace strings. I did mention replace strings are different in Intelligent Agent than they are in announcements, for example. So these are all of the replace strings that are relevant in Intelligent Agents. So first name, last name, for example, those are the ones you'll probably use most often. Org unit name. So the name of the org unit is actually the name of the course or the course code. You can have a look through these replace strings. But the ones that you would probably use most often are the org unit name, so the course name, the first name and last name of the initiating user. Okay. I think that is, oh, sorry. I can't see my bottom of my screen. Whoops. Let me just minimize this quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to fill in some info here. So say, for example, hello, initiating user, first name. Don't. And then you can save it and close. Sorry, I didn't put in a subject, my bad. Subject line is reminder. So from here, what you would do is you can edit it, you can copy the agent, you can, if it's already been run, you can view the history, you can run it now, or you can do a practice run. So if you do a practice run, you will see, it will show you that it's still running and what the results of the run was. So it will say, for example, here there in the previous one, there are naught users defined. These the sandbox site doesn't have many students in it, so it won't. They are like, it's difficult to get a set of criteria that actually produces people. But it will tell you here there are 10 students, for example, that haven't submitted the assignment, and then you can click on them and see who these students are. That's how you use it for monitoring purposes. But if you actually run the agent, run now, then it's going to be that email that was sent will be sent to all of the students that satisfy the release conditions. Okay, are there any questions? I'm going to stop sharing at this point. We'll just go back to the slides.
No questions.
Chat. See if there were any questions. There weren't any questions, Lauren. Nothing.
No, we've just been talking about how students can customize their notifications, unfortunately.
Okay. Yes.
It is something that we are in contact with the Brightspace product team. And so we have weekly meetings with them to talk about the new things that we are finding in Brightspace that might not work that well, or that we would like to change. And then they give us feedback about whether it's possible or not. Yeah, so we are very aware of this issue. It's been raised in various meetings and webinars. Yeah,
I think
Chris, you're welcome.
A hand up.
Thanks, Lauren. I was just going to say we need to be a little bit cautious on that announcements one. We've had a number of cases which have gone to the registrar and backwards and forwards where particularly with things like venue changes or whatever, get sent as a Villa announcement, and the student goes, but I never saw it. And at least with Villa, we had that as long as it was clicked email to all. The fact that the student has then set up an email rule that sends all the notifications from Villa to their trash, that absolved the university and the academics from responsibility, because it was clearly a student decision. If they can opt out at the beginning, though, they'll never get an email. And that does run risks where we use Villa announcements for kind of urgent or course critical changes.
Yeah. As Lauren mentioned, like right now, that is how announcements, or that is how the notifications work. A way to get around it right at this moment, as she said, we are in contact with Brightspace about changing that rule, or how students can change their notification settings. But a way to get it around it right at this moment is to email students. So students can't opt out of emails. They can opt out of announcements, but if you send emails directly to them through the class list, for example, they will receive that message. I know it's not a solution, because we are so used to using announcements for all types of communication, but it is something that we are working on or chatting to Brightspace about. Oh, I'm not, Stefan, you're right. It is something that we can raise with Brightspace. I'm not sure why those replace strings are different. It does seem unnecessary.
Yeah, we can add it to the list. There are some things that are hardwired, can't be changed, but we can always ask.
Any other questions or comments? No? If there isn't anything else, then I think we can close 6 minutes early. You're welcome to email us with questions and comments. If something does come up as you are playing in your sandbox sites, or playing with the particular tools, we're happy to answer your questions. But I think if there's nothing else, we can sign off for the day.